Well, hello. We are about a minute out from our webinar, and I can see we have lots of folks joining us. We're so excited to have so many people connecting here today. I think it's going to be a wonderful presentation. Today is all about a brand new offering called Leadership 201, Blueprint for Brightspace Brilliance. We are very excited to offer a session today that I think will be interactive and I hope also inspiring and exciting to see what can be achieved within Brightspace. So we will offer a couple questions for folks who are joining to be connected with everyone here today. Thank you all so much to all of you joining us. I think here we are at 11:30. We're going to start to get things going, but you're here in perfect time, and we're just so pleased to have you all joining us today for our Leadership 201 Blueprint for Brightspace Brilliance webinar. I may trouble you to change our slide over. So before we get started into our webinar today, I thought it might be helpful just to review some of our housekeeping items. So in today's webinar, we hope you'll notice that there's a Q&A component. We'd love for you to post your questions there. During the webinar, I'll actually go off of camera as Emma is our wonderful host today, and we'll make sure that we're monitoring all of those questions to answer as many as we can during the webinar. If we aren't able to get to your question during the session today, please don't worry. One of the things that you may also want to know is, will the session be recorded? It will be recorded, and we will ensure that that recording is posted to our Brightspace Learning Center. We have our article within the community for the course itself. So we'll make sure that you're connected with a link to the article where you'll be able to view the recording and also get a recap of all of the questions asked in today's webinar, as well as all of the answers. So again, not to worry if we don't get to your question during the webinar, we will make sure that your question and answer are posted within the community itself. And how can you stay updated? We hope that you will stay updated with us in Brightspace community in our updates discussion, so community updates. Simply by bookmarking that discussion, you can ensure that you get an automated email notification with any kinds of updates and changes. That is the location where we post about new courses being posted, new opportunities like this to stay connected. So without further ado, we're going to start things off with a little bit of information about this session, including who is the session for. Firstly, if you are here, you are so welcome. We know this session is going to be the right one for you. Anyone who has an interest really in building innovative, exciting, engaging Brightspace courses is going to come away from this session with a lot of information about what is possible. So whether you're directly involved in the design or development or the strategy of online or hybrid learning, I really think that this is going to be a fantastic session. Similarly, folks who are involved in all kinds of aspects of organization development, talent development, and also customer success and technical account management will find value out of this session. It is my sincere pleasure to pass the mic over to our host for today, Emma Thompson. Thank you so much for hosting this session today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Steph. I am also very excited to get to talk about the Leadership 201 course. I'll just talk about myself for a moment. I am a learning experience consultant with Learning Services. I bring over 10 years of experience in teaching and learning to this role. I have a background as an instructional designer with D2L, where I collaborate with clients to develop engaging, effective learning experiences within Brightspace. And with my background, while I was completing my PhD, I taught both graduate and undergraduate students before transitioning to designing training for faculty, staff, and students. These experiences certainly inform my ability to guide organizations to creating impactful learning solutions, which is what we're going to talk about today. For those of you who have never heard of Learning Services or engaged with us, hello. But I would like to give you a sense of who we are and what we do. So we specialize in creating scalable, high quality, and engaging learning experiences. We are a team of instructional designers, courseware developers, multimedia designers, project managers, and learning experience architects. We support our clients in a broad uh, broad manner of ways. We can do things like strategic framework planning to build engaging learning experiences, map the skills and competencies you're looking for your learners to gain in order to create those efficient and effective learning experiences. We also will do things like review client content to say, here's what we think in terms of the way you're presenting content, and maybe give some suggestions on ways to make it that much more engaging or impactful. We also will uplift course content. And like many of you, I am sure, we use AI, and right now we're working with different AI authoring tools to support our clients in terms of where their needs are, in terms of maybe that's authoring the content, or they're looking to migrate a lot of content over into an online learning experience. So that's a little bit about learning services. I see that lots of you have already started taking the poll. This poll, if you haven't already started it, if you could take a moment to do it, it really will just give me a sense of who is on this call today, what your experience level is with Brightspace, and I'll be able to use that to guide what the focus of my presentation is. So I'll just give you a few more moments to complete that before we get started. Okay, I'll leave it there just because I think some of you are in the process of doing it, and I'm conscious of the time that we have together today. All right. In terms of our agenda, we have already finished off pretty much uh, the introductions that will be happening today, but I will ask for your participation for a few times, so please be ready for that. We are going to start by discussing what a good course is, and then I will take you on a tour of the Leadership 201 course from my perspective as someone who thinks a lot about what makes meaningful learning experiences. Then we'll have some time for questions where you can, maybe ask me anything that you've just learned about or you'd like more information about, something I've discussed. You can certainly pop those in the chat as we're moving along, or you can save it to the end. Please give me a thumbs up if this sounds like a good plan for our session today. All right, that's good. All right, let's get started then. So, what does a good course look like? This is a question myself and the rest of my team are regularly asked, and is certainly something we try to support our clients in understanding. You actually probably have far more insight into this question than you think. Raise your Zoom hand if you have ever felt bored while taking an online course. Okay, seeing lots of hands raised there. Raise your hand if you have ever felt overwhelmed while taking an online course. Maybe you weren't sure where to start. You weren't sure where the content was. How do I navigate to an assignment? Where did I leave off? Yeah, that's a pretty common one. Thank you for your participation. Regardless of the content, and as I'm sure you can appreciate, courses all look very different just given the content. We can all agree that feeling bored or feeling overwhelmed are certainly things that we want to avoid when we're thinking about what does that good course look like? What is a successful online course design? Most people want to know what they should be doing and where their attention should be going next. They want to know what's expected of them. They're also thinking about the first impressions. So we imagine, think of yourself when you log into an online course, that initial greeting is really going to set the tone for how you're thinking of the course as you're moving through it. So we want to help give their learner confidence in that material that they're reviewing and give them the idea that this material is rigorous. This course was intentionally designed because it's going to give that course content that much more credibility. We also are thinking about the design elements that are used within the course. So while yes, we want things to have a certain cohesive visual aesthetic, we also want them uh, to feel that these are intentionally used such that, cognitive load is a consideration. We never want someone to be overwhelmed or not be sure where to look, but instead use those elements to indicate importance or emphasize. And finally, we want our learners to be engaged. We want them to be able to identify based on the engagement what is significant material, what is something I need to be paying attention to, and also give them a chance to understand, how well do I understand this course content? And we know that a well-designed course, which as you'll see on the slide there, is things like a well-designed homepage, that cohesive visual aesthetic, and those interactive elements. That's all going to improve the learner experience and is really going to help with the learner retaining the information that's been presented to them. And that's really the end goal, right? Is that when we ask someone to do a course, we want them to be able to go away and apply what they've learned. And here we have then the Leadership 201 course, and that's what this course is all about. So it is a demo course in the sense that it has content in it, but it is there to exemplify these best practices in course design. And it's there for folks like yourself who have some experience in engaging in course design and are just looking to add a little bit more in terms of the interaction level, helping your learners retain more information as they're moving through the courses and keeping them engaged. And so I'm going to take a moment here and I am going to switch my screen, so just bear with me while I share the demo of the course. We're going to walk through this course together. And for those of you who haven't seen it, this is the article that accompanies this course, and I can share this with you in the chat so that you can see the course, the article that accompanies the course. So let's get started with our demonstration of this course. All right. This is the homepage of the course. A good way to think about the homepage of your course is like a front door. If it's cluttered or if it's unclear, um, the learner isn't going to be sure where to go for the information, and that can certainly have an impact on their engagement level and their motivation. And so we see here with this course, there's not only a kind of a cohesive visual feel, which again brings that level of credibility, but immediately as a learner, I know what's being expected of me. I see that um, here are the modules that I need to complete, and I get a sense of the progress. So I know that within each of these, there's different topics for me to complete, and I know that when I'll log back in, it will identify my progress for me. We also get a sense of, on the right here, of the folks who are also taking this course with me. Maybe it's the instructor, excuse me, introducing themselves to me as the learner. Maybe it's one of my colleagues or someone else who's taking this course, sharing something they found insightful or an external resource that they wanted to share out with the whole group. We also see here the learner awards. So I know for myself as a learner, I get a sense of achievement when I've completed something, and that's going to be tabled for me here right on this course homepage. We see within that kind of that prime real estate, the first things that I see when I log into the page, they're not only giving me a little bit of an incentive to complete the learning as someone who's just starting the course, but they're also going to guide me towards action, which is very important from our perspective and in wanting folks to not only get started, but to feel engaged. So all of these things together, I would say, incentivize a learner to get going, but also immediately start to build that sense of confidence in the material. So that's a sense of what a good homepage can look like. I also want to take a moment and talk about the next concept that we described there is the visual design and aesthetics. So certainly we're using a customized HTML template here, which not only keeps the content consistent in terms of its look and feel, but we're able to draw through the branding in those elements. So we can imagine if this is my course and I work at Canyon Quest, these kinds of rich browns and burgundies are something that are throughout our branding, maybe on our website, and pulling those through is just going to, again, reinforce that this isn't kind of a separate space from the content that I'm used to, just reviewing something on a home or web page, that this is also aligned with that. So again, those feelings of intentionality, that sense of professionalism and trust. And we're using these visual elements throughout not only to create that sense of trust, but also how can we use them to create that cohesive feel as we move through the content? But also, we're thinking about cognitive load. So the visual design here, draws attention to that. We're gonna review this short little video that's introducing me to the module, but it's carries right down to those learning objectives, that it all feels like one cohesive piece. And even just drawing attention to the learning objectives, we know that anytime a learner knows what's expected of them, they're going to be able to perform better in that course, and the performance will certainly relate to their ability to retain that information. And again, just having those simple visual elements like the logo down there in the bottom right hand corner, those are great elements that are going to make me feel confident in the content I'm reviewing. Look at another page here. So again, thinking about the conclusion page of a module, these different visual elements, those consistent fonts and colors, not only am I going to get used to as a learner as I'm moving through the content, understanding the heading order, they're giving me a sense of what's important information for me to review, but they're also reducing cognitive load. You could imagine that I could have just instead had, a series of paragraphs. Maybe that quote was part of that paragraph, but by drawing it out, not only is it kind of diversifying the look and feel of the course, it's also kind of reducing that cognitive load. My eye is looking at different things, and I'm not just simply glazing over as I'm moving through that content. Okay. The other thing that I like about this specific page, it's a conclusion page of a specific module. What it does very nicely is that it gives me not only the next steps, so I have a sense of what's expected of me as a learner, but it also tells me that the next module is only going to be released if I achieve a certain value on the quiz. So I'm already being prepared for what's being asked of me in the next steps. So that's, I would say, maybe not so related to the visual design and aesthetic, but I would say that that's just a good thing to keep in mind when you are building your courses, is how can you point the learner always to what's going to be expected of them. Okay, let's move on to interactivity. Going to show you a few pages here from that leadership course that speak specifically to the interactivity levels. So here again, we see a content page. Yes, it still has that consistent theme of the Candy Quest, those rich browns again, the heading styles. But in terms of keeping folks interactive and giving them that kind of enhanced learning experience, certainly video content is one way to do that. And so here we have a video. It's been directly embedded on the page, which, just kind of increases the learner's ease of moving through the content. We don't want a learner clicking out and having to go to an external or a different web tab to review that video. Having it embedded on the page is certainly important. And then also you can see that visual design element in wrapping that page. But as we move down, we start to see other visual elements used that kind of increase that interactivity. And that's what's really going to help a learner retain the information that's being presented to them. So you can imagine here we see these three different types of leadership styles described. We could have just written these as three different paragraphs with headings like this is autocratic style, this is democratic, and this is free reign. Instead, having them placed here in this tab panel, not only as a learner allows me to recognize that these are important, but it prevents me from just kind of glazing over. I need to stop and I need to click through these tabbed panels. You'll start to see in the way that these tab panels have been laid out, there's consistency. So as I'm moving through the content, I start to be able to draw some really quick comparisons. So we see that kind of subline there or subtitle line in the italics where I can see, oh, this is immediate comparisons I can draw across the content. So those intentional elements, the way that we're laying out the content in these interactives can be very valuable to a learner and, um, kind of discreetly help them draw attention to what's important. Here we see a knowledge check. So things like knowledge checks or sometimes what we call formative assessments are very valuable for a learner because this is really where actually we know the learning happens. When you are able to engage with content as you are learning it and practice and demonstrate your learning, we know that we'll retain more. So you can imagine if I'm clicking through this, I think I know what characteristics of autocratic leadership is, or whatever this next question, but apparently I don't. And so I'm immediately realizing, oh, I need to go back up and I need to review my content. So building in those formative learning assessments can be very helpful for helping learners retain that information. It also really helps in terms of kind of changing up again the look and feel of the course. So I'm not going to be able to do what I call the click and walk away, where you're presented with that 20-minute video and you simply just press play and then you realize you're getting Slack messages and you start to pay attention to those. With this type of assessment being built right in, it allows the learner to not only remain focused, but to do what we call in the learning side, we call this the fail fast. Realize that I don't know as much as I think I did, and re-engage with that material. Here we also see some additional readings. Maybe someone wants to go and review that content in a different way. And again, we see a different style of interactive. You could simply imagine that this again could have been displayed as maybe 3 headings with some bullet points underneath. But now as the learner, I need to go through and I actually need to select where these different styles of personalities match with these different leadership styles. And not only am I actively participating, I'm also getting really, I'm going to take a second here, but it should give me some feedback. I'm going to get customized feedback that's going to explain to me why my answers were incorrect. And maybe it doesn't want to give me that feedback. Um, I'll do a quick refresh and we'll try again. But hopefully it will give it to me, because this is very valuable to give learners feedback on the content that um, they're reviewing. So not just simply that it's wrong, but that they start to understand why it's wrong or what they could have improved. There we go. Just a little glitch. So here we see, oh yeah, not only was my answer incorrect, which I know from the red X, but I start to get a sense of why. And those explanations can be really helpful for helping and supporting the learner in retaining that knowledge. Okay, just have an eye on the clock, so I'm going to show you one more quick interactive element that you could certainly think about including in your course designs. There is the option always to use virtual meeting tools. The example here is a tool called Bongo, and this page just gives a description of it. I'm not going to go too much into the details of Bongo itself, but I'm going to speak to why using something like a video tool can be very powerful as a learning tool to support that level of interactivity in terms of enhanced learning. So when we start to use things like video-based learning, we see that when folks have to record themselves doing something, they start to take it a little bit more seriously. They get to engage again in that fail fast mentality when they're doing the learning. And then also, we know that people really appreciate when their instructor, if the course is being moderated, can give them video feedback. In terms of, this is what we think you did well, or here's something else. That personalized feedback can be very valuable in getting learners to maybe rethink and apply their knowledge differently. So that's an example of a different type of interactive for you. That there's more information on that in the course, and you can click and read through that. I'm going to switch screens again and get back to our PowerPoint presentation. Just one minute. And so here are our takeaways from the course today, or what I've shown my presentation today and the course that I've shown you. So certainly you want to keep that homepage. The design there really matters. Remember, think of it as the front door to your course. That's really where you're setting up the first impressions. So making that clear and structured is really going to help build confidence in the material that you're presenting. Also thinking about those visual aesthetics. Use those to enhance engagement. Keep them clean and consistent throughout, because that's going to help you support your learner in them knowing what to expect. And it's also, again, going to build confidence in that material. Finally, interactivity is key. Use those Brightspace tools. You've seen some of the ones that I've demonstrated for you here. There are also more within the course itself. I was using Creator Plus, just to call that out, But if there's something there that you're interested in, there is links at the end of the article on community where you can request more information on C plus or learn more about those different tools. All of those elements together certainly support learners in not only retaining information, but remaining engaged over the course of a learning experience. And because we know the goal is always to have people take away and then apply their learning, incorporating all of those elements together can certainly set you up on a good start for making it that good learning experience. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. There is the chat function. Stephanie, I don't know if there were any questions in the chat. I couldn't see it as I was moving through, but maybe there has been something.
We don't have any questions posted in our Q&A just yet, but I wanted to call out a couple things that I hope you will find really helpful, especially when reviewing some of the material here. Emma showed a variety of different interactives and homepage elements. Many of these you may be curious about. So I wanted to let you know that in our Brightspace community, for our article all about this course, we've also listed many of the features, so many of the specific widgets and specific tools that have been used to make those interactives directly in the article. So if you're a little bit curious about how to get started with a tool like Creator Plus or H5P, or if you're interested in finding out how you can add an awards widget to your course homepage, we've linked resources directly from the course article so that you can learn a little bit more. Paula is asking if I can help to post the article that we showed. I'm just going to add that here in the Q&A component. Thank you so much for asking your question. It is wonderful when we can kind of share together. So please don't be shy. I've just posted that in our Q&A component. Jennifer wants to know, does Bongo track attendance if you have a virtual meeting with students? Emma, do you want
Yes,
to know one?
yes, it can do that. So yes, you can certainly track attendance.
And then an anonymous attendee has asked, who do I go to learn more about these tools? Which is also, I think, a really great question. Emma, did you want to take this one on?
Yeah, so you can certainly come and talk to someone like myself, and we can make sure you get my contact information. The tools that were presented within, as Stephanie pointed to, within that community article, there are lots of links that will send you to relevant articles within community. If that's you're just looking to have a quick little review, that's there for you as well. So there's lots of different ways to learn more about the tools. I can give you my contact information and then you can review that community article and look at the links in there.
We've also provided a link directly in the community article that says connect with a member of the team. So if you're interested in accessing any of those resources and you're not sure if you have them within your Brightspace instance, please don't be shy. You can click on that link and we'll make sure that we're taking a look at your Brightspace instance, finding out what you have access to, and then sharing more details if there's something new that you might be able to add to your Brightspace instance. There's another really exciting question here about whether or not there's anything in the works to show version history within Brightspace. And they mentioned this would be really useful for collaborative course building processes. Maybe Emma and Jeff, this could be one that we can take away. I know that one of the strategies that I've used in the past is a resource that Emma shared about in the session today, which is our HTML templates. We have free HTML templates that you can download and use within your own Brightspace courses. They're available from our D2L Brightspace community. Just doing a search for templates will connect you with that resource. You can download them. We have a full set of instructions and video tutorials to help you get started. When you make changes within those particular templates, there's a way you can use the date stamp feature to help track changes. So that's a tool and a strategy that I've used in the past for that, but I really love that idea of kind of version history, version control. I'd like to ask a few additional questions of some of my other colleagues here at D2L who may have some other strategies to share, but please watch the link to the article that we posted earlier in the session. We'll be posting all of these questions and additional additional answers. So that's one I think I might want to add a little bit more information to. I really love that question. I'm very grateful to you for asking. I know I have my kind of fallback strategies, but sometimes when we ask those questions, especially in a community setting, you get to learn from other colleagues who have other strengths to bear. So I appreciate your asking. We have just one more minute. Maybe we can ask and answer this one last one. It says, I'm not able to get access to the course despite being logged in. Is there something I am missing? That is a great, great question. What I would recommend is if I could ask you to bear with me for one moment, I will help you my very own self to ensure that you have access following this webinar. So I really appreciate your mentioning that. Typically those little access challenges, we can resolve really quick and easily. So if you can bear with me just for another moment after the webinar, I will go in myself and adjust your settings and send you a note to let you know that you'll have access. That is all of the time, if you can believe it, that we have for today's session. So I am so grateful to all of you for joining, for participating, for sharing back with us in the poll. Please know that the session will be recorded and appearing in our Brightspace community, added into our course article, and we'll post about it in the community updates discussion so that you have a link and a notification when those resources are up. Very, very special thanks to Emma for sharing so much wonderful information with us and for giving us that incredible tour of our latest resource now posted to the Brightspace Learning Center. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. We wish you a wonderful rest of the day, and we're excited to see you at our next community event. Bye-bye.